Good morning. So we are in chapter 14, Sefer Yehoshua. We saw last chapter the beginning of the division of the country between the tribes, the division that was already made in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu. He gave the two tribes and half their part in the other side of the Yarden. And now we are starting with the work of Yehoshua, meaning dividing the rest of the land to the 9 tribes and a half. The dividing these parts comes even though the land itself is still not in the hand of Israel. Parts of the lands are not in our hands. So Chachamim ask in the Talmud, why did they divided it already? Why didn't they wait until they get everything? And the reason that the Talmud gives, it's very important. There's a difference between individual action and the action of a congregation or of a nation. It's called kibush yachid, kibush rabim. Kibush is conquer, conquista, how do you say? Consistency? Conquered of individual and conquered of a nation. And the differences are mainly about the halachot הקשורות בארץ, meaning mitzvot התלויות בארץ. For example, where should we give תרומות ומעשרות? When should we do shvi'it, shnat shmita, etc. All those are only, according to the halacha, there are discussions about it, but according to the halacha, only were places that were conquered by the public, by the nation, not by individuals. And that's the reason it's already done here, even though there's still a lot of work to do. The work continues in the next chapters, and in Sefer Shoftim. In the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, we still read about the wars to take the land of Israel. Anyway, here we start now the work of division of Yehoshua, and another one, which we are going to read in the first verse, chapter 14, first verse says, and these are the allotments of the Israelim in the land of Canaan that were apportioned to them by the priest Elazar HaKohen, by Yehoshua bin Nun, and by the family heads of the Israeli tribes. So here we have 3 factors. I understand the second and the third, right? The third one is Rashi Avot Hamatot, meaning people from each one of the tribes. Right? It's because you want to get to know that everything was done correctly, and that I got what I had to get, not something that was decided in a wrong way. So every tribe has someone to represent him in this action. The second is Yehoshua bin Nun. Well, he was the leader, he was the head of Am Yisrael, so clearly he was the one who should do that. But Elazar HaKohen, why does Elazar HaKohen there? What is Elazar HaKohen doing there? Elazar HaKohen was a Kohen Gadol, right? He was in place of his father, of Aaron HaKohen, right? Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, and he was one of those who has to do that, to divide the land between the tribes. Not only that he has to be part, he is the first one. Until now, Yehoshua was in front, and now Elazar HaKohen is the first one. Why? So we know that the division of the land was also by the Urim Vetumim, meaning the instrument, the vessels that the Kohen had on himself with the tribe of Israel, with the letters, was the way of communication with Hashem. So everything was made by the Urim Vetumim and by Goral, like kind of a lottery. They had Nachala, one portion of the land, and the tribe, and they took each one and they fit between them, and that was the way they divided. So we can see that Elazar had an important part in giving each tribe his part. And it's also logical because, like we said many times, living in the land of Israel, it's not only territorial issue, or it's not only, well, to find a place to live. Living in the land of Israel, it's also spiritual destiny. The Am Yisrael can only fulfill his mission completely of being the nation of Hashem, of bringing the word of Hashem to the world, only in the land of Israel. And the way that Am Yisrael exactly is sitting in the land of Israel, it also depends in God's will. Right? That's why it's not like Yehoshua said, you know what, you're going to be there. No, there's a decision of Hashem. This tribe, Yehuda, belongs to this part of the land, and this tribe, Reuven, belongs to this part of the tribe. There were some interventions or some special request that we saw with the two tribes and that we are going to see in this chapter. But finally, the decision of Hashem, the way that the land is divided because it's not only arrangement where to live, it's also how Hashem wants his word to appear in this world, right? His message. And that's the reason that Elazar HaKohen not only participating, he is the first one in the list of those who are giving apportioned the land of Israel to the tribes. So, and he says, the portion that fell to them by lot mean lottery, right? Yeah, by lot, as Hashem has commanded through Moshe for the 9.5 tribes. Okay, 9.5 because 2.5 already received their part. But now here, the verses are going to explain the math. For the portion of the other 2.5 tribes had been assigned to them by Moshe and the other side of the Yarden. He had not assigned any portion among them to the Levim. Because why the Tanakh has to repeat that? We know that how many tribes are there? 12. So if 2.5 tribes already received, how many left? 9.5. But we also say that Shevet Levi didn't get any part. So how many left? 8.5. So how did we write to 9.5? This is a question, and the answer in the next verse. For where the descendants of Yosef constituted 2 tribes, Menashe and Ephraim, the Levites were assigned to no share in the land, but only some towns to live in, with the pastors for the livestock and cattle, just as Hashem has commanded Moshe, as the Israeli did when they apportioned the land. So let's remember the story of Menashe and Ephraim. If you remember, I will remind you quickly. According to the halacha, the firstborn has to receive 2 parts in the nachala, in the inherited generally. For example, if someone died with $1,000 and he have 2 children, how should it be divided? 500 each? No. We divided the 1,000 for 3 parts, 333, and the first one gets 2 parts, and the second one gets 1 part. And if you have 6 children, no, let's make it easy, 4 children. If you have 4 children, so we divide it to 5. The first gets 2 parts, and the other 3 get each 1 part, right? So each one get $200, and the first one get $400. So also in this case, the land of Israel should have been divided to 13 parts, right? 12 tribes, and 1 tribe get extra. So that it should have been 13. Shevet Levi didn't get anything, so we go back to 12, but there are only 11. So who should have gotten another part? Reuven. Reuven should have gotten another part.
But about Menashe.
Yes. Reuven should have, but he didn't. Because stories that are based on Sefer Bereshit, that you're not going to repeat now, Reuven was punished, and his Bechorah, his right of firstborn, was taken from him and divided between 3 tribes. Because the firstborn should be the king, should be the priest, the Kohen, and should receive 2 parts. Who received the kingdom? Yehuda. Who received priesthood? Levi. And who received 2 parts? Yosef. Yosef received 2 parts. He was the firstborn from Rachel. Right? And how do we know that? Where did we see that? We see that when Yaakov blessed the son. Do you remember the famous blessing of Amalach HaGoel Oti V'Rechet HaNe'arim? So it's not the only blessing that they got. In this place, Yaakov tell Yosef, והנה בניך נולדים לך בזאת, אפרים ומנשה, כי ראובן ושמעון יהיו לי. Your sons that were born for you here in Mitzrayim, Ephraim and Menashe, are going to be for me like Reuven and Shimon. What does it mean that are going to be for me like Reuven and Shimon? Each one of them are going to be considered as a tribe. And it also says the verse, ואני נתתי לך שכם אחד על אחיך. I gave you another part more than your brothers. What's part? This is the part of the land of Israel. And that's what it says here exactly, that the sons of Yosef were divided for 2 tribes, Menashe and Ephraim. And we see the central part of Yosef in Am Israel. We saw that in the stories of Sefer Bereshit, which he certainly got like leadership place. And here we see that you also get these two parts in the land of Israel. And I want to remind you who is the leader of Am Israel in this moment. Yehoshua, that came from the tribe of Ephraim. Okay, so that's what we see here. Is the math. So this is the math. 2.5 tribes already received. Levi is not going to receive anything, and Yosef is going to get 2, and that's the reason we have 9.5 to get. So now we are starting to divide the land, and we start with a story. And here I'm going to complete the doubt that I have to you about the giants. Right? So the story of Caleb. The Yehudites, meaning the sons of Yehuda, approach Yehoshua, and we are in verse 6. Approach Yehoshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Yosef, son of Yefuneh, the Kenizi, say to him, you know what instructions Hashem gave at Kadesh Barnea to Moshe, the agent of Hashem, concerning, it doesn't say the agents of Hashem, the men of Hashem, Isha Elokim, the men of Hashem, concerning you and me. So here, Caleb remind Yehoshua old story that we read 2 parashot ago, right? The story of the spies that we are going to remind you. But before, I want to ask you something. The verse starts with the word Vaigshu bnei Yehuda, and the sons of Yehuda approached to Yosef. Did the sons of Yehuda say anything? What we see in the verse, Caleb and Yefuneh is the one who's speaking, and he's going to speak until the end of the chapter. So why does it say that the sons of Yehuda came to him? So first of all, Caleb is one of the sons of Yehuda. That's for sure. We know that. He was one of the leaders of Shevet Yehuda. So we can say that it says Bnei Yehuda, meaning Caleb. So why in plural? Why Bnei Yehuda? So there would be Ben Yehuda, the son of Yehuda, one of the tribe of Yehuda. Mefarshim said that Caleb went, but it was people with him. So it was like how do you say, mishlachat, a group of people going. Group of people that going together. But if you see the words, it's maybe, I mean, that's what the Mefarshim say, of course it's true, but here, the wording that the Torah chooses, that the Tanakh chooses, is very interesting. Vaigshu bnei Yehuda. What does it remind us? As a verse very, very similar. Vaigash Yehuda. Parashat Vaigash. It says Vaigash Yehuda. What is the story there? Yosef is saying, I'm going to take Binyamin from you, right? When they don't know who is he. And he say, I'm going to take Binyamin from you. And they are starting to ask, and he say, no, insisting. And then the parasha starts, Vaigash elav Yehuda. And Yehuda approached to him. So Yehuda approaching to one of the tribe of Yosef, well, Yosef himself. And here it's the same word, Vaigshu bnei Yehuda, in this case, Yehoshua, the descendants of Yehuda approaching to the descendants of Yosef. It's like picturing the same photo. In these times, Yosef was a leader, and Yehuda asked him a favor. And here also, Caleb, the son of Yehuda, is approaching to Yehoshua, which is one with the power, asking him, not exactly a favor, asking him what he has to receive, what he meant to receive. We can see, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what is comparison meaning, but we can see again that the two main leadership of Am Yisrael are going to be Yosef and Yehuda, and there is some conflict between them.
It starts when Yehuda said to sell Yosef.
Yeah, so it starts before that, Yehuda and Yosef, Yehuda saying Yosef. It starts even before that. Yehuda is a son of Leah, and Yosef is a son of Rachel. And we have this also two sides of Am Yisrael. So these two sides of Am Yisrael will continue until the end of the days. We know that there is Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. According to the Kabbalah, there are going to be two Mashiach. Mashiach ben Yosef is going to come first, and then Mashiach ben David is going to come second. Some say Mashiach ben Yosef are going to be killed. According to the Kabbalah, are going to be killed in the war. So there are many explanations for that. I'm not going to enter to that, but we clearly see these two sides of Am Yisrael: side of Yosef, side of Yehuda, side of Rachel, side of Leah, Yehoshua and Caleb. Both of them. So there are some cooperation and some conflict, some differences. Some say that Yosef represents the material part of Am Yisrael, and Yehuda represents the spiritual part of Am Yisrael, but Yehuda also was a king, so it's not so going so well. But okay, so now I will leave it like that, and we'll see after that what it may mean, and what we are going to see now. So Caleb now reminding Yehoshua the old story about the spies. So he described it quite well, and so we will explain it while we read that. So it says, I was 40 years old when Moshe, the servant of Hashem, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I gave him a forthright report. So here, let's read another verse. While my companions who went up with me took the herd out of the people, I was loyal to my eternal Hashem. Okay, so if you remember the story, Moshe sending spies who were about to enter the land of Israel 2 years after going out from Egypt, more or less a year and something after going out from Egypt, they were going to enter the land of Israel. The first he sent spies. Between the spies, 12 people, each one for each tribe, and between the spies, there is Caleb and Yehoshua. The rest of the spies decided they don't want to get to the land of Israel. They started to frighten the people and tell them it's not a good idea to go inside. They are very afraid from the giants. Do you remember the giants? They saw the giants and they're very afraid from them. What? Nephilim, Anakim, Rephaim, there's different names, but it's called Anakim, giants. And they're very afraid of them, and they don't want to get to the land of Israel. But Caleb said, yeah, we are going to come in. Yehoshua also is with Caleb, but it looks like his position or his role in this story is not as central as Caleb. Caleb is the one who's speaking, Caleb is the one who are arguing with them, and the Torah also says Caleb is going to get the reward for that. Yehoshua also lived to continue, but Caleb is going to get rewarded for that. So that was Caleb is telling us here. But notice the age. Age is 40 years. It's going to be important after that. On that day, Moshe promised and on oath, the land on which your foot trod shall be a portion for you and your descendants forever, because you were loyal to me, to my eternal God. So Moshe makes a promise to Caleb that the land where he was, where he stepped. What was the land that Caleb stepped? Hebron. How do we know that?
When you go with the spies.
But it doesn't say that Caleb went to Hebron. So here there is a very clue. We mentioned that in the drasha when we talked in Parashat Shelach. There are very clear clues that Caleb went to Hebron. It says, "Vaya'alu b'Negev, vayavo ad Hebron." It says the spies went from the desert, from the Negev to the north, and then it says vayavo and became until Hebron. It doesn't say they came until Hebron. It says he came until Hebron. Only one. Who was the one? Apparently it was Caleb. How do we know? Because after that it says that Hashem promised the place where he went, and we're going to see that it's Hebron. So we know that this was the one who went there, who stepped there was Caleb. Why did Caleb went to Hebron? And why alone? To daven. To daven where? In Marat HaMachpelah. In the graves of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to ask what? To save him from the plan of the Meraglim, of the spies. And there, when he went to Hebron, he saw the giants also, but he wasn't a friend from them. They were afraid of him. The rest of them were afraid of the giants. The giants were in 3 different places. They were in Hebron, they were in Gaza, or all the land of the Plishtim, and the rest of the land, the rest of the mountains. Those from the rest of the mountains, Yehoshua himself took them off, and we will see them. And Caleb saw those who are in Hebron. He didn't do anything to them, but he saw them. Anyway, he says, Hashem promised me this nachala, this part in the land of Israel. Now Hashem has preserved me, just as promised. It is 45 years since Hashem made this promise to Moshe, when Israel was journeying through the wilderness. And here I am today, 85 years old. So we are in 85 years old, 45 years. From here, Chachamim made the calculation, very easy calculation. When was the story of the spies? As we said, he was for 30 years, when he was 30 years old. So When was this? In the second year after they went out from Egypt. So how many years is left to them? 38. Another 5 years. So we have in total 7 years. 7 years of war on the land of Israel. This is where Chachamim gave this number. So we had 7 years of war. So we can assume that what we read in the Bible is only a little part of the wars. What we read maybe took a few months. And here we're talking about 7 years. So it's something that took a lot of time. Anyway, that's what we can see from this verse. And then Caleb adds something else. I am still as strong today as on the day that Moshe sent me. My strength is the same now as it was then, for battle and for activity. Latzet velavo. These words remind us very clearly the word of Moshe Rabbeinu in his last day. In the last day of Moshe Rabbeinu, he says the same words. He says, Kechochi az, kechochi ata. My power in these times is like my power in the old times, meaning I haven't changed at all. I still have the power. Velatzet velavo. To go out and go in, it's again the same words as Moshe Rabbeinu, meaning I can be the leader. Maybe, like we mentioned, here we see the conflict of leadership. We say that Yehoshua has finished his job, more or less, his role in the east of Israel. And Caleb said, now, from now on, I'm going to continue. I still have the power. It says, "Kechochi az kechochi ata lamilchama," to go to a war, meaning I can fight myself. Velatzet velavo, it's more like being the leader. Latzet velavo in front of the people, to lead them in and out. So he said, actually, okay, you finished your work. You didn't finish your work because not everything is in our land, but from now on, I will continue. We will see the first judge in the days of the judge after Yehoshua was Othniel ben Knaz, who was the brother of Caleb. Right, so it says it Caleb a Kenizi. It was from Knaz. It's another story, but anyway, it say actually I'm going to continue from now on. And now we ask for a certain thing. Now assign to me this hill country as Hashem promised on that day. Those you too heard on that day that Anakim, giants, are there, and great fortified cities. If only Hashem is with me, I will dispose of them as Hashem promised. So I'm not afraid. I'm going to take the responsibility of taking these cities with the giants. So Yehoshua blessed Caleb, son of Yefuneh, and assigned Hebron to him as his portion. It's important that to say that Yehoshua assigned it, meaning it wasn't in the lottery. It wasn't divided. It's like the 2 tribes and the half. This was divided not in the, let's say, in the classic way or in the formal way. It was, okay, here we have special case. You get that without the lottery, without Urim Tumim, without anything. You just get it. And he gave him as Hashem promised. And he says, those Hebron became the portion of Caleb, the son of Yefuneh, the Kenizi, as it still is, because he was loyal to Hashem, the God of Israel. The name of Hebron was formerly Kriyat Arba, the city of the 4. Arba was the great man among the giants, and the land rests from war. Now, I will read another verse from the next chapter. I won't read all the chapter, only one verse, verse number, just a second, 13-14. It says, in accordance with Hashem's command to Yehoshua, Caleb, son of Yefuneh, was given a portion among the Yehuda, the sons of Yehuda, namely Kriyat Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the father of Anak, giant. Caleb dislodged from there the 3 Anakim, Sheshai, Achiman, and Talmai, descendants of Anak. So how many giants are there? 4. So Kriyat Arba can mean the city of Arba, which was the father of the other 3 giants, or can be the city of the 4 giants. Anyway, what we can see here, there are 4 giants that Caleb could win in this war, could eliminate, dislodged. What is dislodged? Remove them. Okay. Okay, he could remove the 4 giants. Now, I want now to remind you what we talked about the giants. The giants appear from the Sefer Bereshit. They are called Rephaim. One of them is Og Melech HaBashan, which is connected to Avraham also.
He survived the Mabul.
Yeah, he survived the Mabul. There's very, very legends about Og Melech HaBashan. And there are like, all these times are like the other side of Avraham, or the enemies of Avraham, and after that. And we always see the number 4. So we see here, there are 4 giants, and also the city is called the city of the 4. And we read the last time, the verses in the end of Sefer Shmuel about the 4 giants in the days of David. So there are stories about 4 giants that David and his people is also dislodged. Yishbi, and one of them was Goliath. All of them were the daughter of the same mother. It's called Rephaim, and some say it's Orpah. Orpah, the sister of Ruth, which David came from. So David actually killed his cousins, 3rd, 4 cousins. Not necessarily, we should understand that literally, but meaning they came from the same root. We have a fight here between David and Goliath, or David and the giants. Also, Caleb has fights against the giants. And they came from the same tribe, Shevet Yehuda. They may also came from the same family of Peretz. I will remind you, Yehuda had 5 children. 2 of them died without children, Er Onan, and son of them, Shiloh, is not mentioned anymore. Shelah, we don't mention anymore. And then he married Tamar, and then he had twins, Zerach and Peretz. Zerach should have been the first, but that Peretz passed him in the line and came Itparetz, right? He went out first. And from Peretz came the kingdom of David, and also Caleb. So we have some fight between the giants and the family of Yehuda, or the family of Caleb, the family of David. David wasn't descendants of Caleb, but he came from the same family. I won't into all the details. I just say it like that. We have 2 Caleb in Divrei Hayamim. There Caleb ben Yefuneh and Caleb ben Chetzron. Chetzron was the same family of David, but it's not clear if Caleb ben Yefuneh and Caleb ben Chetzron was the same person. It's according to Chachamim, to some Midrashim, it's the same person. According to some Mefarshim, it's not the same person. But anyway, they belong to the same root. So we have the root of Yehuda, the kingdom of David, and from the other side, the root of the giants, and Orpah, and these 4 giants that are, and the fight is around Hebron, let's say. Now, I want to add something else. There are some, what we call the theory of the numbers, according to the Kabbalah, or according to some of the Mefarshim. Mainly, it's recognized as something that Maharal from Prague wrote a lot about that. The numbers, meaning the numbers are meaningful. It's not the numbers that we see in the Tanakh, in the stories, it's not by accident. For example, it's something that's maybe the most famous. We know that 6 represents the material world, and 7 is the holiness that it's in the material world, and that's why 7 is Shabbat, and we have Shemitah. We always call Shvi'iyot Kedoshot. All the 7 are holy, right? It's something that we can see in many, many cases in the Torah, that 7 is a holiness inside the nature. We explained that if every object has 6 sides, right? 8, right, left, up, down, forward, and up and backward. So what make it something? What it has inside? Only sides without the inside, it's nothing. We cannot have something without inside. So the inside, it's what gave the meaning to the sides. Meaning the soul, the spirit gives the meaning to the body. And we know that 8, for example, is above nature, right? Brit Milah, it's above nature. We are fixed in the nature. And each number, according to this, has meaning in Judaism. So what is the meaning of the number 4? It's interesting that every time that the number 4 appears in the Talmud, or in the Torah, Chachamim related it to the 4 kingdoms. Right? You know that according to the traditions, there were 4 kingdoms that ruled all the world. Bavel, Paras, Yavan, and Rome. Okay.
Mentioned in Daniel book of Daniel.
Yeah, it's so in Daniel it's mentioned in other places, but Chachamim related many other places where there are the number 4 to the 4 kingdoms. For example, it says, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz, v'haaretz hayta," and the land was tohu, vavohu, v'choshech, apnei tehom. There are 4 negative words in the creation of the world. Hashem created the world, but the world was in the beginning tohu, vavohu, v'choshech, darkness, apnei tehom. Abysmal, how do you say tehom? Habai? What? Emptiness. Okay. Anyway, there are four words to describe negative elements in the creation before the creation was organized by Hashem. So how you say these are the 4 kingdoms? Or for example, you know that there are signs of kosher animals, which kosher animals has 2 signs. Yeah, it has in the legs. Okay, these 2 signs. There are only 4 animals that have one of those. There are many animals that don't have any, but there are only 4 animals in all the world that has one of those, which are the camel, rabbit, shafan, and pig. Right? I don't. What is shafan and rabbit? It's how do you say shafan? Hare. Yeah, okay. Anyway, 4. Chachamim say each one of them is one of the 4th kingdom. So Chachamim related number 4 with bad things usually. And for example, there are also, it says that there was a river going out from Eden, and it was divided to 4 heads. Okay, each one of them is one of these 4. But what we can see here, that the origin of these 4 is 1. So 4 also represent other things. For example, 40 is always times of preparation. 40 years in the desert, 40 days before the creation of the baby in his mother. There are some saying
40 days, 40 nights.
40 days and 40 nights that Moshe went to Mount Sinai. It's time of preparation, of secret process that's going to come to the reality after a while. Anyway, this is 40, but 4 represent also the 4 points of the land, or meaning all the world, actually. And we can say that the meaning of that is that the world of nature has some power. And this power comes to the reality or is expressed by the kingdom. We talked about the kingdom, the power of kings, the excessive power of being a king and use it in the wrong way. This was, for many years, the meaning of kingdom. Kingdom is something that is having excessive power, right? Something that have excessive power, and it use it when it's not controlled, when it's not managed in the right way, it can cause a lot of damage. They control all the world and they do bad things, and it's corruption and many bad things. From against that should rise the kingdom of David, which is using the power in a positive way. And to explain that, I have to explain another point. Usually we see the material as opposite to the spirit, the body against the soul. 2 things that always fight. I should choose if I want to choose, if go in the spiritual way or in the material way. Do I go after the bodily desires, or I'm going after my intelligence part, right? It looks like it's something that contradict each other, but it's not true. Actually, it's true in some level, but in other level, it's the opposite. Meaning, in order to have bigger soul, you need bigger body, meaning more powerful body. If you want to really be elevated, to be connected to Hashem, it's not that the body is against the soul, the bodies go together with the soul. It should be the servant, but it should be together. You can't be weak and still be very spiritual, because if you are weak, you are sick, you are feeling bad, you can't concentrate. Try to learn something when you feel bad. It's very hard because the mind and the body are connected. So we need stronger body to have stronger spirit. For example, Chachamim also says that a prophet should be Chacham, Gibor, ve'ashir. It should be, or at least Chacham ve'Gibor. It should be smart and strong, powerful. So body or material is not against, it can seem like it's against the soul, against the spiritual part, but it's not. It should be, we should find a way to combine them, to harmonize them in the way that bigger body meaning bigger soul, and stronger body meaning stronger soul. So this is a very big challenge, because usually when you give the body a place to be powerful and strong, it's taking control and dominate everything. So we should find a way to have four with one inside. Why is one is always a shell, right? So we have the four that come from the one, and this is five. It's another point, the five. But when we can, how we can see that? For example, these four rivers, we say that come from one river. The one become four, right? So when you have the power of the one, the spirit is one, the one who controls the body, then the body can grow and be big. And we can see that also in the word of Yehuda, which is interesting. Let me show you that. What is Yehuda? Right? Yehuda, Yud, K, Vav, K, is the name of Hashem, with a four here. So he adds the four. So when the four, the body is inside the name of Hashem, so it can be a positive thing. So this is Yehuda. Yehuda meaning he can take the power of the body, the power of the material, and make it as part of the worship of Hashem. So this is the reason Yehuda is going to be the king, or from the tribe of Yehuda, we are going to have the kingdom, right? And that's why we see that we have from one side the giants meaning the body, but in a very, very excessive way, very powerful way. That is why the reason the enemies of Abraham, the enemies of David, they are the enemies of Caleb, right? They are enemies of this concept. They want to take only the body and to bring it to extreme power, very, very powerful in a way that delete everything else. And then against them comes the kingdom of David. That's the reason they are fighting against them. So we also always see these four giants against these two people, against Caleb and against David, right? And all this happened in Hebron. Hebron, the word Hebron, Haver, Lechaber, connected, right? When you can connect the sky and the land, the heaven and the land. It says, Chachamim says that Hebron is the door, not door, how do you say, shah, door. Gate, right, the gate of the sky. From Hebron, the prayers go up. So it means it's some connection between up and down, between spirit and body, between heaven and land. Okay, so Hebron is a landscape of the battle, of the fight. And that's the reason here Caleb said to Yehoshua, until here you was a leader, from now on I should take it. And I should find a way to start, to applicate, to implement the idea of the kingdom of David. Okay, so this is maybe the story behind all these giants, because so that it has a lot of space in the Tanakh, a lot of importance in the Tanakh. And this is only one path, right? Only one step in that long fight. That we see it will end in the days of David HaMelech, the first part of this fight. He didn't finish yet. We're still in that, but yeah. Okay. Any comments or question?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting.